Now,
Like,
there's also breakage, right? When somebody, like, the disconnect between like marketing and UX is when somebody runs an ad for, let's say,
mhm,
a new shirt or a
mhm,
new hoodie, and then somebody clicks it, and then they
mhm.
wind up landing on a completely different landing page with like
Yeah,
just random products. That's
yeah,
it's a big problem,
that
and I
is a
see
big
a lot of
problem.
companies making that mistake.
Yeah.
So the mapping journeys from marketing into the UX and then
Mhm.
UX down the funnel,
Yeah.
super important.
Software is getting more and more intelligent too. I mean, even working with chatbots, you can, in a lot of ways, I haven't worked on a project personally that's like this, but I'm seeing it more and more that those chatbots are getting more intelligent and they're starting to be able to provide more of not just like a customer service function, but merchandising functions as well. So if you say go to like Macy's website and you are looking for like a red knee length skirt, sometimes a chatbot can kind of help you narrow those search results down in a way that just hitting the search button can't. So it's a way to kind of provide like a higher quality or higher touch interaction for people who aren't able to find what they want from like a traditional search feature or just from like going to a product grid.
And so this is actually part of the discovery that happens, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I asked for customer service logs all the time, customer support logs all the time during or during discovery. Even sometimes if you can get a hold of those binders or any kind of documentation they have for frequently asked questions. Like I said, looking for those patterns and kind of checking like you're seeing this type of question over and over and over again, like you'll get that information immediately from somebody in customer support. They know where the website is not working because that's where they get calls. And if they're getting calls about it, I mean, that's maybe like just the tip of the iceberg for the problem. You could have, once you have that information and then you go look at the analytics, depending on what you have in analytics, then you might see like insane drop off from in a part of the site that you aren't even thinking about. But mostly it's happening during checkout for e-commerce. They're having credit card validation problems and they're calling customer service.
Right.
Because if they get to that point, they're pretty committed to the purchase and they're probably very frustrated. So
Right.
yeah, so then like there's just to touch on experience mapping and service delivery. Those are kind of two sides of the same coin. It's just a matter of the scope of your perspective. So an experience map is like, what is the customer going through? Like, how do they learn about the brand? How do they land on your homepage? How might they what happens if they bypass your homepage? Say they're coming from like a Google shopping search and they just land on like the product description page. Are they going to be oriented? Are they going to feel like they can trust this brand? Are they finding the things that they want? So those are like different touch points throughout the process. And by kind of mapping them and having conversations about those touch points, you can kind of find out like what the customer is thinking, what kind of experience they expect to have, how well are you delivering on that expected experience, are there any problems? In e-commerce, I did some work for an automotive paint company, and they have a lot of product specific information because it's a chemical product. And so we looked for some interesting ways to kind of surface that and just design the information so that they could access the product specification. There's, one of those chemical specification documents. So we put a little bit of extra design into the product details section of the product detail page so that information was presented really clearly. It was really easy to consume. It's a lot of tables. It's a lot of like really specific hazard information. And so instead of hiding it behind a downloadable PDF, which is something we also provided still, but we made it like really apparent and kind of nice and easy to consume and then we could formatted it so it was really more like brand oriented. And so it felt like it was information that was coming from a trusted source.
Now, there's also breakage, right? When somebody, like, the disconnect between like marketing and UX is when somebody runs an ad for, let's say,
Mm-hmm.
a new shirt or a
Mm-hmm.
new hoodie, and then somebody clicks it, and then they
Mm-hmm.
wind up landing on a completely different landing page with like
Yeah.
just random products.
Yeah.
It's a big problem,
That
and I
is a
see
big
a lot of
problem.
companies making that mistake.
Yeah.
So the mapping journeys from marketing into the UX and then
Mm-hmm.
UX down the funnel,
Yeah.
super important.
Yeah, that's a really annoying information architecture problem when your marketing team starts throwing up links everywhere and then your UX is like, what is going on with all of these URLs? They aren't mapped to the site, you know? And that can create some really bad customer experiences, because if your landing pages or the URLs that your advertising is pointing to are out of context, if they don't have the proper orientation information so that customers can like maneuver around back into your website, you can create really frustrating experiences, because maybe they like one thing, but then they kind of see something else in one of your upsell blocks that they like, and then they just kind of get lost, or they can't get back to the landing page because it's not properly site mapped. You can run into lots of problems like that.
This is where these type of practices come in really well.
Yeah.
These are the things that are, forgotten or just not paid attention to. Like you said last time, right? The marketing department was doing their thing, the merchandising is doing their thing, the UX is doing another thing. And so getting that connection between everybody in the mix is super important.
I mean, that's a really important part of the digital transformation process internally. Is I think you have to. A lot of times these teams are new. I mean, a lot of people don't necessarily always know or understand what UX is. Maybe they think it looks a lot like marketing, but it's also visual design. And so where is that limit? I think you have to approach it as not a competition. You have to really set up an internal culture so that the teams feel like they're collaborating. And that's where workshops help, is because you can say like, oh, we want to like design an experience map, or we want to create a service delivery map. And then you can bring those people, like the UX people, they're not taking like, they're using the workshop as a space to give everybody a voice and kind of surface that information about what they're doing and what they're working on. And so it feels more collaborative, as opposed to just like coming over and being like, here, marketing, we made an experience map, have fun, start using it, right? You wouldn't want to do something like that. Very top down, very heavy handed. You don't want to make any assumptions about what marketing is doing. You want to find ways to bring them in the room so that they feel like they have an imprint on the conversation.